Good morning.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Authenticity. I'm Anna Toothman, and this is Valerie Esler.
Elster.
Elster? Esther. Oh, thank you and welcome, my dear
Thank
sister.
you. Thank you so much for having me. Hi, everybody.
It's a true honor. I did write some notes down, Valerie, about your journey and your remembrance. And, Valerie, you hold codes and blueprints for resurrection of the planetary logos, consciousness on Gaia, as well as numerous galactic dragon council positions. You're dedicated to the inner alchemy and evolution of the divine human and birthing of the new earth, utilizing remembrance, alchemy, wisdom, and what did I write? Guide and inspire thousands of people. You've been doing this for decades, beloved sister.
Yeah. Feels like hundreds of years, actually. Thank you for that beautiful opening.
Oh, I really want to get into it. There's so much I want to bring forth in this now moment. We are in such miraculous, magical times ahead. And many of us know Valerie very well and your service work that you bring to our communities and many others. Valerie, what are you working on in this now?
Right now, well, I just posted this morning. I was really tuning in to this omnipresent blueprint for me that is, very much the seeds and the connection, the third eye, where we all resonate really on the same frequency. And so that started to come in last night. And I really felt those blueprints, start to really move throughout the grid. And I headed a little bit later today to the root chakra of the planet, Mount Shasta. I, um, which is very important because that's something I was mentioning before we went live that I've been working on for many, many years. Is the root chakra is it's a resurrection, but it really is a renewal of our entire planetary body, which of course includes us, includes all of the species that inhabit Gaia. So it's a really important energetic update. And I'm going to go sit on that grid. So that's what I'm working on. And also community. And I mentioned I've been traveling. I left Redondo October 1st. I have been on the road traveling ever since then. And that was a really strong guidance. Get out, see everybody, go sit on these important nodes to unfold the codes and the blueprints that I'm holding, which for now, in this moment is community, is getting everyone together so we can have these big gatherings that many of us have seen and felt and have been working on. So there's a lot of us that have received these messages over the years, and I think we've had to go through so many iterations, right? We've had to go through a lot of trial and error. What works, what doesn't work, how are we going to function? Of course, the financial pieces, the survival pieces, which are the root chakra, are something that have had to go through a lot of um, again, trial and error, right? How are we going to function in these new earth communities, or however you want to call them? Of course, that's a term that a lot of us use. Terra Nova is a term that's come up, which essentially is new earth.
Right.
So yeah, that's what's really happening in this now moment.
I feel that it resonates so much with me about gathering.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been saying it for many, many years, and that calling, that inner desire is so grand in many of us to come together because we've been placed in different places around the earth for a reason.
Right.
I wanted to ask you, for those listening, Valerie, when you connect and you get your information, do you go through a meditation process? Do you sit in 0 point? How is the process unfolding for you?
It's a good question. At this point, it's just a gnosis, a 0 point, a knowing, a feeling. I'm not as much of a seer where some people will see. I'm
Mhm.
just a feeler into it. And because I'm working and inhabiting multiple dimensions. So it's, holding that 0 point field within whatever is happening in whatever reality that I'm inhabiting. So it's a tuning in. And at this point, it's such a gnosis, because as I
Sure.
mentioned earlier, I had that grand awakening, reawakening, I call it, in 2012. And many of us, many of us on this call probably did. And so a lot of that remembrance started to come in, and then I started to translate a lot of that, which is why all the languages I say, I speak frequency, I speak the tones of creation. That's really what I call it, commonly referred to as light language. But that's a limited term because there's so many different expressions.
Mhm.
And, depending on where I'm being called and what that species or, informational database contains. So it is a knowing, a trusting, and receiving in that field of 0 point. And right now it's this omnipresent. I really feel it's such an overarching energetic field, and where we don't really even need to speak. Very few words need to happen. We just know what we're doing and where we're being guided, and we all just show up. And that has been happening since December. I just got off a call with a dear sister, friend, client, someone that I've been working with for a long time. And she was talking about, she was in a very stressful situation. She started doing the law of attraction. And she sits down at a restaurant and she hears Esther Hicks in the restaurant.
She's in the restaurant.
Yes. Talk about manifestation. She starts doing law of attraction and she goes to eat and she hears her voice, and she's literally sitting in the same restaurant. I mean, I'm getting chills. Just
Yeah.
that heightened level of instant manifestation is happening right now. So it's exciting.
It truly is
I'm excited.
exciting. And
So
and sometimes receive it before we even realize we needed it. It comes right in the opportune time.
yes, indeed. I do have some language, if that's okay, unless you have another question.
No, please.
Okay, so many of you know who work with me. The language, again, it's a frequency, it's a tone, and it allows us to go right into the subconscious, superconscious mind. So it's bypassing the 3D mind, which so many of us have been working on and inhabiting this level of, frequency for a long time. So I'm just hearing some words want to come in to bring that point a little more, into the knowingness, the gnosis. Um, Apakandoshiko al atakanai o te eshaktatsachovo handiama no hundai tai ina esako ta utamai lahato poe taita ina na patsikan seko pacha jaita. And so the words are, you're opening these different databases or frequencies, however you want to use, right? English words can only convey so much. And they also have so much attached to them. So that's why a lot of times, we're updating the nomenclature, we're updating the words that we use to describe things, because they carry a lot of, baggage, they carry a lot of density. And we're in such a time of, like you saying, instant manifestation. That's just the speed of light, where it's traveling, it's instantaneous. And we are the quantum computers.
Sure.
And so in our, in our attempt and in our unification of our fields, we're able to resonate at a higher frequency, which is what's happening on a collective level, right? First, it had to be within these specific, as Francine DeGiorgio calls them, OG, the original gangsters.
Yep.
The way showers, right? Whatever you want to call us that have come up and were awakened early, very early, in order to hone our gifts, remember, our magic, right? So we can share and be that pillar, because really this is about the community as a pillar of light. And Mount Shasta, of course, is a very high vibrational spot on the planet, and it holds their cities of light there because it's a multidimensional grid. So we've got physical cities on Earth, and then we have these multidimensional cities of light. And so that's also what's been happening in these major grid points.
How exciting. Do you, excuse me, every time you speak light language, do you know what you're saying?
Sometimes I do. It's usually not a direct word for word translation. I just try to give a summary of it. Sometimes I speak and I don't translate. It really just depends. I really let the frequency of my words, whether it be English or light, just to, whatever you need, right? Whatever you're resonating. And so when I do my posts, people will say, could you explain more? Or could
Sure.
you translate? Sometimes I do, but most of the time I don't, because my words are very specific. And so, like you said earlier, I translate what's happening in many dimensions. And
Yeah.
so the words themselves are carrying the frequency. And so
Mhm.
just reading them, just like with graphics, I'm not an artist. Uh, I'm a language artist, maybe, but it's the translation, and we all have a different way of bringing through what's needed. And so I choose photos very specifically that carry the same frequency as the words that I'm using, either in English or in other tones. I like to say tones of creation versus light language.
Uh, I love that so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
Now, you had mentioned you're going to Mount Shasta. How long will you be staying there?
I'm not sure.
It's open.
Yes, it's open, as many of the grids are. So a lot of times I don't even know, I'm supposed to be going to Bali next week, and that's being moved to a later date. So, you know, being in this flow, I'm very much in a full surrender of where I physically need to be. And so sometimes I don't even know where I'm going to be day to day. But I just know that I am fully supported, and I have been ever since I left. So it's been amazing. And it's very much a full surrender of, what I'm used to, just being in that moment. But it's allowed me to be very flexible and respond to whatever grid I'm supposed to be on.
And for those who are listening for the first time or don't understand when we're speaking about the grid, it's not the same thing as the traditional grids that we think of. They're different nodes that you're speaking of. Is that correct?
Well, it's both, really. It's a both and, because the physical nodes, the ley lines, right, which are
Right.
on a physical 3D level, and then you
Sure.
have the energetic grids, and so a lot of times all of those will culminate, as we see with some of the great ley line maps. They culminate in one location. So you've
Mm.
got chakras of the planet, which some people feel like they're moving, and I don't disagree. Some say, they're as we've moved planetary energetic, right? The body itself, the ley lines have adjusted as the tectonic plates
Mhm.
move. The ley lines adjust somewhat, and there's been a spiritual movement, as many people have spoken about, and I have also seen from the east, right, being the center of the spiritual center, to the west, and that has been happening for me anyway ever since 2012, maybe a little earlier. But So, it's physical and energetic. And we also have the inner earth grids, which
Mhm.
is a lot of what I've worked on the last 4 or 5 years, which are, you know, um, the planetary body of Gaia herself, and the circuitry, the inner earth circuitry, and what that has been doing in the activation, and then it comes up from there. And really, in this last year, Anna, it's been all water for
Yeah,
me, and so a lot of the water, and I keep seeing it come up. I speak about Pangea quite a bit,
yeah.
um, because we are returning to a water society, once again. And so when the physical movement will happen, I don't know. But we have an energetic movement, of course, that's been happening. And for me, it's about unification of not only the energetic, but us as a species. And that is that omniversal, blueprint that I am feeling very strongly. So if you're standing on the planet, you're going to feel it. If you have any
Sure.
sensitivity, this isn't about how much you studied or what you've done. Of course, everything has a purpose, right? I've done a lot of meditation. I've done planetary work, just being on the grid. I've done a lot of medicine, plant medicine, and so forth. But ultimately, it's about a unification of us as one species, and it's only in that we move together, and of course coming from our heart, and moving from that heart center, right, all of our chakras aligning, and that's how we bring peace to this planet, which is really one of my most
Valerie, will you
important.
give me 1 second, please?
Yeah.
Sorry for the interruption. I was just told that the live is not coming through.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Let me look. We've been removed.
Oh, interesting.
Let's see.
Oh, I think because it's friends only, you have to actually change the setting in Zoom
Oh,
to
okay.
public. Yeah, because it goes in as friends, and so it
Okay.
has to be changed to public. But we're still
Okay.
recording, so you could always use the recording.
Yeah, of course. Let's see what I can do here.
Yeah, it said it ended. So,
Yeah, let me try something.
okay.
Do you know we're on Zoom here, or do I have to go to the main page to make it public?
I think it says setting.
During our recording, this is going to go out live after this. Let's see,
You could pause
settings.
the recording if you wanted, and we could figure it out.
Oh, that's smart. Thank you. Let's see. Oh my goodness. I have to put my glasses on. Well, my show is called Authenticity, my dear.
Yeah, this is it. This is as real as it comes.
Yeah. Welcome back. For whatever reason, we got knocked off. Um, if you want to repeat, I don't know how long we've been off, but I will reshare the recording.
Yeah,
So
there
I
you
don't know how much time we have or you have before you have to fly out, but um, where were we?
go. In this now moment, we're right
Yes,
now. That's it. That's where we
yes.
are. Um, I was just talking about the grids because, uh, you know, again, we're as the inner Earth plates shift, it does also move somewhat. So I've seen some talk about, you know, the heart chakra being over in Hawaii. I do work those grids very much. Most of really the whole Polynesian grid, right? Which for me is ancient Mu, and I'm teaching a container right now, the oracles of Mu, and going through all of the ancient cities of Mu. And so, part of what I was saying, I see the water coming up. because we are going to have a shift in not only the physical matrix, but the energetic pieces, because those are have been running in the physical grid really since 2020.
Yeah.
Look at the timeline from 2012, December 2012 to December 2019 was a really important, that was the 7-year cycle. And that's the message I got in 2012, that this opens a 7-year cycle. And that ended 2019. So I knew something was going to happen in 2020 because the timeline was done. It was over. Then everything we all did, right, in 7 years started running into the grid itself. So it was an important time. And also look what it brought up. I mean, right, COVID, but there was so much else happening beginning of
Sure.
2020, right? It was like every month there's fires, there was something going on. There was just something going on, but I knew something was coming like a COVID. Many of us probably got that insight. I don't always know how it's going to actually unfold, right? Unfurl
Sure.
physically, but that's how it came about. So we've really been, and I saw the 4-year timeline from 2019 to 2023. So we have 7 years and then we have 4 years, 11, right? Now we're in 2024. And many of us have seen what this year is going to be about. This is a very important year. And we're moving into this alignment in April. And, I've seen energetically what's going to happen. But again, what happens physically is unknown because it really depends on what's happening. We're ready for that next phase here, but we've been holding the field wherever you are in the world. You've been holding the field.
Sure.
So
Yeah. I mean, stabilizing a lot of stable, you know, with ease and grace is what I say, that this unfolds with unconditional love for all that is.
yes,
That as we move forward, that we send love and light intelligence to all things,
yes,
however we have perceived them or have perceived what has occurred up till this now moment. It is really important that we maintain that unconditional love.
exactly. And that's the heart field, the heart chakra, of course,
Yeah.
right? And it's a resonance, it's a frequency,
Yeah.
and that's it. So whatever frequency you're running consistently, and that's why the collective frequency is so important, because as we expand and we run through the heart codes and we come, that's how we just magically appear together, show up, I'm
Mhm.
sure, and then someone's going to show up, that, oh, hey, good to see you, but there's no coordination in this realm. So that's what I've been seeing happening since I started traveling. And also because I was on a grid for 12 years. I was in Redondo. So a lot happened during that time. And so that's, I was getting the push to leave 2 years prior, but I have a child and I have 3D stuff. So I had to really, you know, see how that was going to unfold. And literally I had to get kicked off the grid. I called in a twin to show up and he's like, "What are you doing on this grid? You're not supposed to be here." So when I left, it felt like a lot of the timelines that I was holding started running. And that was October 1st of last year. So, understand, right, who you are and what you're holding, because that's a lot of it. And this is where it's go time. I posted also over on Instagram. It's go
Yeah.
time. So if you're in that place that you getting the push, it's time to leave. It's time to move. It's very much the frequency that I'm feeling. We, of course, work with our galactic or cosmic family.
Yeah.
And so a lot of that's been happening. So, you know, when everything goes, that's what I'm feeling today, that all of these pieces are aligning in this now moment for this
Yeah.
next.
I mean, I definitely feel boy, that might, excuse me.
Okay.
Um, Boise has been, I've been in Boise. I lived in a town that's about 20 minutes away, but I moved to Boise in 2012, which is the capital of Idaho. And I have been stabilizing this area for, excuse me, one moment. Stabilizing this area since. And whenever I feel into it, I'm very connected to this area. I just had a big star show up right here in my left eye when I said that.
Yeah.
Um, Being that my will is divine will. And so whenever the guidance is for me to go visit somewhere, I do. But then I come back to Boise.
Right.
Um, but obviously, if guidance came in for me to sell everything and leave, I would.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
that's where we're at.
We
Is
are there. Yes, we are there. So
do you
part of
have?
us has to, yeah, and that's beautiful. And it, I don't think I have to tell anybody who's probably listening about that. But the 3D pieces, because that's kept a lot of people stuck or not moving, right? Um, you know, that field itself has reached a point where we're going to start seeing a lot more in 3D in this third dimensional, because the 3D frequency has also risen. That is the root restructure that I
Sure.
spoke about for many years, because the resonant frequency has also changed, right? So everyone just, kind of gets the move up, and we see it. We see family and friends start to have these awakenings, and that's going to really
Absolutely.
happen. This is the year for the galactic, family reunions. This is the year for a lot of the collective to awaken, because so much has been not only uncovered. This is, authenticity. We need to understand everything that's happening, because that's when people will actually go, oh, wow, I never saw this before, but it's been right there. And that's what frequency does, right? That's when we say there's no more veils, but there is for people who aren't tuned in there. For those who are tuned in, we already know what's happening because we're operating multidimensionally. And that's the 12th dimensional avatar. Some of the things that I worked on and others work on those pieces, but trying to coding that avatar and then incorporating it into this avatar, that's really what the physical shifts have been, and reconnecting ourselves to all the dimensions, because we are a galactic society, and that's what we're returning to. And there's other species on this planet.
Yeah.
um, so it's a reunion really on all fronts. I know I've been talking about that inner earth galactic. So it's exciting for me because it's allowing us to, really live from the heart, right? Really live from that place. And it's an incorporation of these these peace treaties, and that's a lot of what I've worked on between the realms, because there's so much that hasn't been honored, and there's been so many distortions, and that's been a lot of the physical energetic work on the land, right, is clearing a lot of those distortions.
I thank you for your service, Valerie, in that area. I want to move into Akashic Records,
Uh-huh.
and I know that that is one of your services.
So I started working in the Akashic back in 2005. So it's really, it was one of those, hey, I know this. And that remembrance also brought about the idea that the Akashic records themselves have been a record of everything that's happened to humanity. So we're even moving beyond those,
Mm-hmm.
because truly it's a record or a database of the fourth dimensional energetic remembrances. But a lot of those held so much trauma. And so I had that remembrance coming in 2012, that I was going in and manually recoding the Akashic, not just for me, but for a lot of people. And I was also doing it for the collective. So I would go and take the temperature. But we're really moving in, out of actual those records because a
Yeah.
lot of people are still pulling from those records and they're not going to be accessible because we don't want to accept, access those memories, the trauma.
Right.
So um, for me, it is really that direct divine, you know, you're getting your direction from your higher self, from a omniversal grid, omniversal stream of consciousness. And so, my work is even changing. It has been, as many people also have been changing because, I'm moving into a different space, as many of us are. So I totally honor that. I still do, some individual work, but again, I'm moving into a different place, into holding a different role, really. And that's what I
Yeah,
was
but the
told.
Elster role is changing. It's kind of like changing, passing the baton to those coming up.
Exactly. And so I see people doing what I was doing. And it's like, great, because, what I'm told is I'm holding space for big gatherings, speaking the languages, curating, putting people together. Because I have seen, again, a group of us, maybe 8, 10, 12, however many practitioners with big groups, hundreds maybe, right? And just coming into the frequency, Anna, is enough. Just coming in and sitting with
Mhm.
that resonant frequency that the group decides and holds. Because beingness, we're in a time of just being. The frequency is enough. I don't need to say much.
No.
There might be some techniques. I feel like most of what is needed is grief, is to release grief, because that is what's blocking the true heart, right? That is what's blocking how we connect to each other as one family, as one species. I mean, what other species do you know that does this to each other?
Right.
Sure, there's competition on the animal side, but their consciousness is also rising. It's not just us. And some will vibrate out of this reality altogether, which is happening and happening, has happened and will happen. So it's that remembrance, it's our combined remembrance, right? That's really what we're in.
I mean, it's really important that we understand what you're saying because everyone on this planet is playing an important role,
Yeah, yes,
regardless of the stage of awakening, regardless of what service they do. There is a grand plan here.
yeah,
And it's so important to me as a way shower to live this example of my truth. And that is that we're all important, no matter where you live, what you do, where you work, your race. It's important because at the end of the day, it is mother, father creation.
right.
I was speaking to Teresa about this, that moving forward, these cliques may not serve us,
Right.
right? That we need to see each other for our truth.
Exactly. Which is the
That the,
gatherings. It's coming into the field, because what we create is a cymatic. We create a
yeah,
sacred geometry just for the group.
yeah,
As that expands and people vibrate out on that, right? That's all we've been doing. Not all, but is holding the group consciousness. And that just continues to expand.
to expand.
And
And the mirrors that were in place for us, for each
right,
individual. what was present in your reality and what was present in mine, it was all perfect.
Yeah.
Do you have any events coming up that you want to share?
I don't in the moment. I'm definitely creating something. I was in New Mexico for a few weeks at the end of just in December. That was really important, grounding a lot of pieces there. So I am seeing and feeling again those in-person events very soon. I think, like I said, Shasta, because that is the route. So I'm really being told just to go sit on that grid.
Mm,
And I've been waiting to sit on that grid. So for me, it's really important that I finally got the yes, it's time to go be there. So I'm anticipating
will
gathering.
you be the eclipse, the April eclipse? Are you viewing that in totality, or you have any guidance around that yet?
I don't know where I'll be. No, I do know though that one of the timelines, the 2017, August 2017, this is through Maria Therese, who does a lot of work that I do. The August 2017 timeline will finally fully integrate in April.
Mm,
And so that resonates for me because that's when I had just got back from Egypt, from doing work in Egypt. And I was unfolding all of that in August 2017. So there's a lot of pieces. And if you understand timelines, it makes it
sure,
much easier because, it's not linear time as we know it. It doesn't exist in what most people, right? It's about
perceive.
energetic containers and the
Sure.
frequency. So when it's ready, it all drops, right?
Mm,
Everything comes into place. That's why it's an instantaneous. Oh, right. There's Esther Hicks.
yeah.
She's right there because everything is aligning frequency wise. And that's what's happening this year. So I think April will be really important. I don't know again where I'll physically be.
Mhm.
I'll know soon.
Yeah, it's day by day for me as well. I'm not sure. I'm leaving it open,
Yeah,
to where I'm supposed to go because it
uh,
changes so
exactly.
much.
I'm just getting rid of stuff and trying to pack things, layers, because I don't know where I'll be and what the temperature will be. But just traveling this last 5 months has been really amazing and eye-opening, and the support that I receive. I mean, I talk about it and I feel it, but then to actually step out and it being there, yeah, there's no words. So I'm very grateful for that.
Does your son travel with you?
No, I hope he's with his father right now. Not yet. I did see that he will be part of what I'm doing, but he's 14, so he's still, he's in that mode. Although I have been working with him his whole life, so I'm confident at one point he will have that awakening. Yeah, he'll be 15 this year. So, but I feel like I'm making up a little bit because some of these pieces I probably would have done last year, but it's okay. And that's the other thing. Everything is okay exactly how it is. So if you're not moving because you're still dealing with 3D stuff or family or what have you, that's the toughest for most of us. I don't have to say that. Is those relationships that don't necessarily see who you are, understand what you're doing. And I would say that to him. I said, you might not understand what I do right now, but you'll see at some point. It will all
Yeah.
make sense. Um, so it's that trust of it will all make sense, right? So even if you're, whoever's watching, if you're confused or it doesn't make sense, it all makes sense at some point. It all works out exactly the way it's supposed to.
Do you feel like we still have to visit places? Because you were talking about when you came back from Egypt in August of 2017, you had just
Yeah.
gotten back from Egypt. I remember I have memories of Egypt, like many of us do, I'm sure. and the mystery schools
Yes.
and going down into those lower parts of the pyramid. Also remembered how to lay on and heal my body.
Right.
I also remembered how to connect all three pyramids into one.
Hmm.
And I remembered all these things and just surrendered to that remembrance. And I don't know if that was just the Egyptian aspect of myself, kind of like the dragon aspect of myself that awakened
Right.
or remembered or was needed in that now moment. Um, I've had alohas from Lemuria,
Yeah.
um, especially, with the activation of the golden disc
Yes.
in last July. Um, I've had confirmations of my first life as in Octorus, born and first life being in there as an Octarian.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't have much memory of many things except this knowing.
Right.
This is grand, right? This is
Yeah, this is grand.
this is
Well,
grand.
and remember you're pulling from the Akashic. So it's an archetypal database of information. So
Mm,
once you attune in, and I'm just nosy. I like to know stuff.
sure.
But I've been in the records for 20 years. So it's just a knowing. And, also I had to go through, of course, a lot of tests, a lot of trials, a lot of tribulations, a lot of, are you really going to do it right this time? I would say, okay, the gang's getting back together, but we're not going to do what we did before. We're here to flatten the hierarchy. We're not here to keep it going. And still now I see people, that are still running this hierarchical, even in the light worker community. It's like, no, we're not doing that. We are not here to repeat. And this is something important because I still see it. And especially with walk-ins, people get, a higher remembrance, and a monad family walk-in, which is the group.
Mhm.
I'm seeing, and I understand people need time to integrate the walk-in, but I'm also seeing patterns of that old matrix. And those are the pieces we're here to rewrite. We're not here to repeat that. And that's important because, the community has gone through, as you know, a lot. And, if you're not running that frequency, if it's not heart-based, and it's not easy, we're still living in this 3D piece, but this is why we're here. We're here to usher in a new paradigm. And that means we have to trust that whatever happens, and for people, this is the financial is the biggest piece. How am I going to be supported in this newer community? What is that going to look like? Right. And this is the hardest piece because this is root chakra. This is why we're all here is
I
to
was able to let go of that last year at the end of last year.
exactly. And it's you don't need to know because it does exist and it does happen. And there's so much on this planet. There's so many resources that are so untapped and that won't really be available until we understand how to utilize them and understand this is for everybody.
It has to
Well,
be.
yeah, so it can't just work for some of us. It has to work for all of us. This is all of humanity. That's what
Yeah.
this is. This is a rebalance of this planet. And everything has to be redone. So
It is a we
yeah, it's a
for
we.
sure.
It's a we. And we haven't had that. That remembrance isn't top of mind. We've had that in other societies and communities, right? The tribal pieces.
Mhm.
Um, so, again, it has taken a lot of effort on so many of us to listen, really listen and follow and deal with our own stuff.
Sure.
We have to we have to re-encode ourselves.
Yeah.
So it has been not for the faint of heart. And so I know, I mean, this journey has been amazing and very challenging because every single thing has to be redone and it's had to be redone. So now we get to practice in this field, right? How are we going to function? And it is that heart-based system that we are returning to. We've had this before. We've operated, before in tribes, Mu, Atlantis, some pieces,
Mhm.
and we've had to learn from those places and spaces and timelines, right? We've had to remember
Ooh,
what we relearned. So when you open
it was
the
a bit
gateway,
of a learning curve.
yeah, big time, because yeah, so much.
And I feel it now. I mean, understanding the algorithms of reality, understanding the quantum field. And then when you work at this level of awareness, every thought, word, and action is reflected right back to me.
Immediately. Yes.
Immediately, I am, there's no, you
Yeah, there's
know,
no drag, there's no lag anymore.
I have to stay here or I'm shown when I'm not.
Right. Yes.
And I'm grateful, and it's kind of like, okay, oh, okay. This is what this is telling me. What word, what thought did I have?
Right.
Where are you in your heart? Are you staying in line? And when I say this, the learning curve, this is what I mean. At least in my experience at the moment, is keeping myself here.
Right. 0 point.
Yeah,
That's important. So regardless of what's happening, you come back to center, you come back to zero.
and you get to
Oh,
stay here longer and longer and
yeah.
longer, and we're each doing that. Not just Anna or not just Valerie. Many thousands of us around the world.
Yes.
That was the whole point, right? It's for us to
Yeah,
get
those
to a
are the
certain
nodes.
level.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the node and that's the monad and the family. And that's the power of the collective. It's not an individual journey, it's a group journey, right?
Yeah.
I don't have to do everything myself. There's others doing it and we're
Yeah.
doing it together. And so that's important, and I had to learn a lot of that and doing things together, right? Being part of the group because I'll just go do it on my own, but it's not going to work. So many of us who've been here have had ancient memories. We kind of had to get checked and and redo things, over and over, um, and get to a point of we're all working together. And there's a lot that had to be undone in that process because it's all in the energetic field before it hits the physical. And so to redo all of the energetic grids and physical grids on Gaia, the energetic grids. So it all happens in the other dimensions and then it starts to come into this. And that's what this year is about.
And let alone the clearing on a cellular level that we're
Exactly.
individually doing,
Yeah.
the physical part of
Yes.
it. And a few days ago, after doing working with Mother Plasma with the oceans and
Mhm.
all the waters, I couldn't barely walk. I after
Right.
I had to put my feet up for a few days.
Yeah, I bet.
There's things that I'm honored. That just the body needs it to rest after anchoring so much and
Right.
being of service.
Yes.
We're coming towards the end of the show, Valerie. Where can our viewers that are going to be watching this on the replay, because I'll upload it to
Okay.
YouTube and to Facebook, where can everyone find you in your travels?
Well, I'm posting, when I'm guided, of course, here and Instagram. reach out if you have any questions. I am very much, like I said, curating spaces and places for gathering. So if there's, something you want me to be part of, I'm holding space and also speaking those languages into the field. So it's exciting because I feel like I'm a bit of my executive producer background coming into play because I can see the field and who fits and how things are aligning. So I'm excited, and I really, I'm still in travel mode, but I know I will ground on one of these nodes very soon. So I'm excited. I'm just waiting to see what's ready for me to be on. And for all of us, I really want to meet everybody in person and be in the
Mm.
space with everyone. So, yeah.
I'm excited to meet you in person.
Yeah.
I can't
Likewise. Yeah,
wait.
I want to hug everybody and
Yeah.
bake some bread.
Well, I want you to know you're luminous. I see you're luminous. Uh,
Oh,
your glow is shining
thank you,
through in
honey.
this now.
Likewise. I'm so glad we finally met after all these years.
Yes, all these years. I know that the connection is here, though. I feel it between
Yeah,
you
me
and
too.
many of our beloved sisters and
Yeah.
brothers across the globe. Valerie, I love you. I honor your role.
Oh, I love
Have
you
so much
too.
fun in Mount
Thank
Shasta.
you. Thank you. To be continued. Thank you, everybody.
Be continued indeed, and I will add your info in the comment section
Great.
with this video
Thank
attached.
you.
Okay, have a great time.
Thank you so much. Bye, everybody. Many blessings.
Bye.
Aloha. Bye.